against the wall.
Yeah, I know it kind of sounds like some people who may be listening, it may sound like we're un-American, like we're commies or something, but that's not true. Our government are commies. They're Bolsheviks. And you don't need to look any further than the Communist Manifesto. You don't need to look any further than the policies implemented the last 10 years, or the last 30 years, the last 100 years. And as I said, if it looks like a Zionist and it smells like a Zionist, it is a central banker. And central banks have caused every boom, every bust. They fund both sides of every war. And so we're not un-American. And I say God bless Americans.
And we're here. We're live. We left the Robin Freeland Show, and we've entered into the Jim Freeland Show here at the Oracle Broadcast Network. I'll have phone lines open all day today, 866-841-1065. That's 866-841-1065. Skype me. Get on air. Hit the get on air into your contacts. There's no other extraordinary steps needed. Get on air. You're automatically in the contact list. Just fine. Get on air and hit call. You can get onto the show. As always, you can email me at truthrising@gmail.com. That's truthrising@gmail.com. You can go to againstthewall.info, but slowly but surely, againstthewall.info is going to change. Robin Freeland website at robinfreeland.com is going to get better. But I will keep, I like to keep the chat room the same at the Robin Freeland Show. So there you have it. Makes it easier for people. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Jim Freeland Show. We sort of ended the Robin Freeland Show with, like I always like to say, I don't want anyone to listen to my show and at the end of my show want to go out and kick a puppy or push a kid down the stairs. So we'll move on. You know, I want people at the end of my show to say, hey, man, that's a good guy, and we can do something. We can help each other. We can change. All right, so, we were talking about surveillance. We talked about quite a few things, actually, a couple of good phone calls. The call that Artgate made was, to me, just more of the same. Another example of how they, are absolutely going to do away with all things non-governmental, you know what I mean? Government's going to be your only choice here soon. Maybe not. Jim has a good point. Now, my point in all this is always life goes on, man. You have to learn how to operate within the criteria that you've been given. I mean, you're in prison, life goes on. You're on their ball field with their equipment, so you have to learn how to live your life. I tell everybody, man, you better learn. If the cops didn't see it, you didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? You need to know who the snitches are. First thing you need to do, identify the rat-fink snitch-ass punks that are in your fold, in your neighborhood, and move on from there. 2, don't ever do anything in front of the camera. I mean, it's hard now with cameras everywhere, but hey, again, everything happens in the mop closet. Always have somebody watching your six for you. That's how you operate in prison. Life in prison does go on. We still joke. We still play cards. We still, you know what I'm saying? We still do our laundry. Life goes on. You just make sure that you realize that now in prison, there is the understanding that you have no privacy, so that you have to, if you have a secret, you just make sure you don't, you just don't do it in front of the cameras, man. If the cop didn't see it, dude, you did not do it. And 2, like I said, man, that, I got done at the end of my life when I finally quit drinking and I finally stopped getting in trouble. And they tried to beat the humanity out of me, but they couldn't, man. And I look back at it and say, is that the best you got? You took a 12-year-old boy You put him in a 12-year-old country boy, and you tried to break him. You put him in the state school. You raised him. You put him in with other children that have the same sort of issues, and you tried to break me, but you couldn't. Is that the best you got? Is locking me up the best you got? So, and they couldn't, man. They couldn't beat the humanity out of me. I'm still quite human. I haven't lost. I'm part human, yeah. I'm at least part human. You know what I'm saying? There were times in my life where short periods I could have made short periods of my life a little, I don't know, man. It would have been easier sometimes to just bash somebody's freaking brains in. But then again, I'd spend the rest of my life in prison had I done that. And then if somebody, ever the chance, the real, chance that I would have to do something like that, it's well known in my family. If you rape one of the girls in my family, I'm the one that's going to take the fall. I'm the one that's going to come find you. I'm the one that's going to get justice for my family. Even though, I'm the one that's done half his life in prison. I'm the one that'll be a lot easier to adjust to prison life. But I sure as hell ain't waiting for, an eye for an eye. I don't need the system for that. The system, you know what I'm saying? So don't mess with my family, because I'm ready. I've been prepared to take the fall since day one. I'll come get you. We'll move on. This one's really going to be... I just want you to know, there is no... you are in a large prison now. I mean, they're coming out right out and, without actually using the words, but actually saying it, we're going to watch you in your car. We're going to watch you at the store. We're going to watch you in public. Now we're going to watch you in your own home. Life goes on, guys. The ball's already rolling. We can't stop it. And the last thing in the world we need to do is keep fighting with each other. Is to keep, and I'm guilty of it, man. I get sick of hearing certain things. I think it's BS and, focusing all your attention on certain issues. But who the hell am I? You know what I'm saying? I just ask that you don't call my show and you give me a little bit of respect, the same respect I give you. That's all. And, I'm just here to say, man, it doesn't matter what's going on around you, man. You know what I'm saying? If you plan on being a pillar of light, or if you plan on being a leader, you got to start now. Again, government's famous for it. Are you going to wait until you have to have a garden to eat to learn how to grow food? Are you going to wait until you have to protect yourself or defend yourself to learn how to protect yourself or defend yourself? Are you going to wait for permission to be a good man? No, just be good. Screw the system. Screw the government. You don't need nothing from them. There are people out there that still have charity in their heart. Kindness. I mean, even guys like me who bring out the worst, who seek out the worst articles and and who seek out the most corruption. But I always do it, and I always say, hey, you're beautiful, man, and you have the right to be beautiful, and so do I. No one has the right to tell me I have to hate. No one has the right to tell me how to behave. If I act recklessly, I expect to pay a consequence. I expect reckless behavior to be, to be an accountable offense. It's just, I'm not anything special. Christ, I'm an ex-con. Prison sadly prepared me for life outside of prison. I thought it was the other way around. I thought, well, how the hell will I ever, especially when here I am, 28, 29 years old, still can't, we still having a keg party if I get 30 days without being arrested. If I could go 30 days without getting arrested, I'd have a party. Hey, it's been a month and I haven't been in jail. And then, of course, I'd have a keg party and get arrested. Or But I always thought it was the opposite. I always thought that was, that was making it impossible for me to live in what we used to call, quote, the world, people who've been in jail or even in the military know what the world is. Everything but where you are is the world. So I always thought that being in prison made it harder and harder for me to be in the world. But really, it was my own attitude, a lot of it. But it did. What it did do is, let me just tell you, man, and Oracle listener, buddy, you hit the nail on the head. And you see it everywhere you look now, where you're in a system of policy and procedure. They pass laws all the time, but those laws are laws that make everything you do a criminal offense. But you live in another system on top of that, the giant bureaucratic system, which is the same as the prison. They don't have to follow laws. They just say now, it is now the policy of the town of Marcellus that you can't have a fence in your yard higher than 4 feet out front. So again, that's just, and nobody voted on that. That was, the few people in the town decided that, and the council decided that. Now, it didn't just happen, but it did. Or they say, well, you can't build a shed that's bigger than 10 foot by 10 foot. Or you can't make an addition, or you can't heat your house unless you meet these criteria. And these are policy and procedures. These are things that could be changed without a law, without a bill, without the people getting together to decide on it. And that's prison. You wake up one day and you find out that you're now only allowed to have 3 pairs of socks instead of 6. So they come in and they shake you down and they take all your socks and then they give you back the ones they feel you could have. Well, you look around you now. Look around you and tell me it's not like that. There's out of bounds. Everywhere you look, things are out of bounds. Things you can't say. Things that are censored. You get a newspaper in prison, half of it's cut out. You know what I mean? They'll open it up and you can see through it because most of the article's been cut out. That's just it. Yeah, that's fine. And people in prison were happy if they could get a TV in their cell. But look, don't consider yourself free because you can sit at home and watch frickin' Netflix all night long. I'm free. I can watch Netflix and eat frickin' ho-hos. Yeehaw. No, that's your rack, man. That's what they've given you as rec to keep you from looking at them. And when that doesn't work, they'll start a war. That's exactly why prisoners have TVs in their cell. That's you know what I'm saying? That's why you're not free just because you can go to your friend's house and rent a movie. You're free if you can do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting somebody and nobody can tell you where to go or what to do. That's freedom. Or if you own property and the town comes and says, we want more money from you, and you say, no, I give you enough money now and you're not getting another penny. Freedom would be they'd have to leave you alone. But you don't live in a freedom. You don't live in freedom. They'll come back and they'll say, well, pay it or we're going to take your house. And if you don't want to give it to us, we'll send in the sheriffs. If you don't want to give it to them, we'll murder you. We'll burn that frickin' place down to the ground with you and everybody in it if the stalemate lasts for too long. And I'm not saying don't be happy. I'm just saying, look around, man. You're watching the walls close in. But my main point was life goes on, even in prison. We found a way to be friends with each other. We found a way to be generous. We found a way to, take care of bullies. We found a way to, to satisfy, your need to be part of groups and to be part of something. We played, cards and games, and we go to the yard and play basketball. And these are all sort of things that they do to keep you just, complacent so that you don't just do what would be the easiest to do and just get together and churn on the administration. People wonder why. Well, we outnumber them. There's a, handful of them and hundreds of millions of us. Well, look at a prison. 30 staff members, 400 or 500 inmates. Why don't they just leave? And you know what? To be sure, if every inmate, all 4 million of them, or all 2.5 million of them did it, they could. But the fact is, and it's the same thing inside the walls, is they create an environment where every once in a while somebody says, hey, screw you. So they send in 7 guys, CERT team, and they tie you up like a pretzel. They beat your face into the ground. They take you away, and they move you to max, and then everybody else goes, phew, thank God that didn't happen to me. I just want to be able to watch TV at night. I got 7 more years here. And the same thing's happening now where little groups of people will get together and say, we've had enough. And they'll come in and they'll, burn you down to the ground with your children and women in there and call you a cult. Or they'll set you up for, a shotgun, and then they'll murder your wife with your baby in their arms. That's exactly what it's like. Shakedowns, random shakedowns. I'm saying right now, and I said this last year, you're within 1 or 2 years of random house searches, depending on where you live. Random. For your protection, for safety, for security. And then you got to justify every freaking thing you own because they're going to make a little pile. They're going to say, what the hell is that? Oh, I don't know if he can have that. What do you mean you don't know if he can have that? This is my house. I can have anything I want. You watch. You mark my words. That's coming. But does life still go on? Yeah, man. Even though all that's going to go on, there's still going to be good people. There's still going to be people willing to put themselves out there charitably. There's still going to be people out there willing to love, willing to show care and affection to other people. There's still going to be those people. Life is still going to go on. It's a system. It has to change from the bottom. They're never going to say, hey, enough security, enough, So, and I say this, and I'm not trying to say this in a way that makes you lose faith or lose hope because we're so far gone. I'm just saying, no, let's be realistic about it. Just look around you and realize that we've allowed our government, we've allowed this giant bureaucracy, this giant corporate banking government, all mingled to one bureaucracy that is now global, to get so large that humans could be completely removed. It's automated. It's self-sustaining. The checks would still go out. The fines will still be issued. The fees will still be demanded. Doesn't matter who pushes the send button. Doesn't matter who hits enter. I'll tell you what my grandma used to say. You can be replaced. Don't get smart with me, kid, because you can be replaced. Well, look around you, man. You can be replaced. And it's hard to become irreplaceable. I mean, that used to be my thing. I'd go to a job site with my bags, and I'd work so hard that I'd be irreplaceable. That they'd have to hire 2 guys. I mean, that ruined me. That destroyed my body. I'm practically a cripple now. But that was my thing. Always thought, my grandpa always told me, if you make yourself indispensable, do the things that other people won't do. They might call you a scab or whatever, but you make yourself indispensable, and they're always going to call you back. Not anymore. Not, you know what I mean? We've allowed these things to, to change societally, socially, to where now, regardless of what you feel about unions, the American worker has no leverage. If I come in and say, I've got money for you, you have to take it. There's no leverage left. There's no, well, if you want me to work for you, I demand this. They'll say, well, I've got, if you want us to come back from China, you'll work for this, or we'll just stay in China and sell you the stuff that we make with your money. We'll send it back and you'll buy it and you'll get food stamps from the government. NAFTA, GATT, that started taking ourselves off the gold standard completely. Bretton Woods, that worked, right? For how long? I still have a couple of silver certificates. It says redeemable. Redeemable. Didn't say, must be used. It just said redeemable on them. You could redeem them for silver anytime you wanted. And there used to be, you used to be able to work because we had leverage, because we had a labor force that happened to be, and you can thank people like, Henry Ford. Henry Ford said, well, I could make a few really, really expensive cars and sell them to the, rich people, and I could be, make a modest living, or I could make average cars that the average person could afford. I can hire people, pay them a living wage so they can afford to buy my cars from me, and then we can all grow. And that was the beginning of, of our modern industrial society right here, where, except for now it's gone where there's so many, there's so many mouths at the top, so many crackheads at the top trying to get free crack that it doesn't work now, that the worker doesn't have, you can't say, hey, if you want my labor, I want to negotiate a fair price for what I feel is fair for my labor. Because they have the leverage now. They can go somewhere else. And they will, because it's legal. We've allowed it. NAFTA, GATT, other free trade, Asian free trade agreements, this new Trans-Pacific Partnership, these secret treaties and deals that give favored status to nations that could come here, that have to be looked at first before even American interests. Somebody brought up the free trade zones here in America. They're everywhere. 30 years ago, that not only couldn't happen or wouldn't happen, it couldn't. It was illegal. It just would not happen. We had tariffs. We protected the American workers, the American public. Thanks to globalism, the American worker has no leverage, and they're never going to get it back. You've got stronger economies with the same corrupt, filthy pigs at the top that now come to America to screw their middle class. Because they can go to right-to-work states where the unions have no leverage. No, I'm not. I've never been in a union ever in my entire life. I don't. This isn't a union issue for me. This is leverage. This is being able to negotiate a fair living wage for your talent, for your skill, for your labor. It's yours. You own it. Get rid of the middleman. I wish we could all just get together and say, screw taxes. I'm not going to pay taxes until my government reduces its size and scope, reduces its spending to where government isn't a yoke on my neck, to where to sustain a government tells me it's there to protect me from there to see to it that I live in a safe and secure, a country, but that it costs me my freedom, or it costs me food for my family. But just look around and just remember, man, it doesn't matter what happens. There's going to be beautiful people out there, man. And we got to protect ourselves. It's a little difficult. I mean, we are in the internet age where your friends might not be in your community. So that behooves you to do what I said, man. You got to figure out where the snitches are in your neighborhood. If it's just not realistic for you to just pack up and move further out. You know what I mean? If it is, do it, man. Get out there. Get away from it. Be self-sustaining. Don't need nobody for nothing if you can. You know what I mean? All right, I'll move on to some news. Israel vows to withhold $400 million in tax revenues from the Palestinians. And this is really over their statehood drive. This is like retaliation. They're going to withhold these revenues from Abbas, President Mahmoud Abbas, the officially democratically elected leader, the Palestinians, till March at least, as a sanction, as a, as a little, oh yeah, well, guess what? Until the, and this is in response to their statehood campaign in the United Nations. They say, well, we collected, $100 million a month in duties on behalf of the Palestinian Authority in the occupied West Bank, money that is badly needed to pay their public sector salaries. The Palestinians, they can forget about getting even 1 cent of this in the coming 4 months, and in 4 months' time, we'll decide how to proceed. Let me see if the call lines are open. 866-841-1065. Come on, call me up. I know you care. They're going to take this money, they say, the Israeli Electric Corporation and water. They're going to take this money for money owed to them by water. That's water they seized. That's electric that they forced on the Palestinians because they bomb all their electric plants. Israel is not prepared to accept unilateral steps by the Palestinian side. Anyone thinks they will achieve concessions and gains this way is wrong. So what they're saying is they're going to use money, They're going to keep this money that they stole from the Palestinians. Where's the rest of the world? Where's the rest of the world? And don't say we don't do the same thing, because we do. Our government takes your money and decides if it can give any back. I'm not even going to go into the comments. The comments on this story are just sick. Just sick. I'll move on. But that's happening right now. Israel said, oh, wait, you're going to the UN? You're trying to help your people? Well, guess what? We'll do this. And that's what they've said. How about this? Now, last week it was France. Yesterday it was the United States officially recognizes the voice of the Syrian people, these Syrian rebels. At least 125 people were killed yesterday by these Syrian rebels. Civilians slaughtered. Child made to behead. What do you call it? Prisoner. These are the official voice of Syria now. Well, the official voice of the Syrian protest was, hey, Assad, you have to do something. You have to try to do something to because the high fuel costs for heating, these people are freezing, was due to sanctions. All right. And so they were saying, look, you have to do something to make things better, whether it's make certain concessions or what. They hadn't got to that point. They hadn't had that clear. The UN doesn't want concessions. They want wars in the Middle East. The United States, Britain, Israel, the people of these countries, if they didn't have these external threats, would realize that the real threat to their safety and to their security came from within their own borders, from within their own government. This is just the oldest play in the playbook, to just always have an external threat. Always have an external threat. The people of Syria were about to make changes. They were demanding it. It was nonviolent. It was green. It was organic. What about the human rights violations in Qatar? What about the human rights violations in Saudi Arabia, in Israel, with Gaza, with the Palestinians? Where are all you human rights watchers? Where are all you Islamic jihadists? Where are all you Muslim mercenaries. All right, guys, we'll be right back after this quick. Back live with the Jim Fralin Show, the officially recognized official voice, the official, voice of the Syrian people. See, bro. The representatives of Syria now. I will, as soon as it snows. The official voice of Syria are now, they're just, committing atrocities all over. Those are really, we just officially recognize them after all these atrocities. U.S. recognizes unelected terrorists as Syrian representatives. The U.S. has recognized the militants, that we've, of course, been funding, been arming, aiding. We do more than just that. We give them logistics. We tell them, we don't let them use, but we give them intel from our satellites, from our own sources. And supporting, since, you know what I'm saying, we've now recognized them as the legitimate representatives of the Syrian people in opposition to the Assad regime, that is. The Syrian, see you. Bye, Michelle. Thanks for stopping by. The Syrian National Coalition for Revolutionary and Opposition Forces, they have their name now. And this is what Obama says, is reflective and representative enough of the Syrian population that we consider them the legitimate representative of the Syrian people in opposition to the Assad regime. Really? Because where's the cry for, whatever. What I don't understand is how the people, and I know they don't represent the people of Syria, but what happens if these freaking, Islamic mercenaries do oust Assad? Do you think that fuel oil, do you think the people of Syria are going to be able to heat their homes again this year or next year? No. In fact, as soon as these scumbag freaking paid killing mercenaries do take over, they're going to do the same things they're doing in Libya. And if you supported Assad now, you're going to be terrorized, cleansed, persecuted, prosecuted. Because we stuck our face in where it didn't belong. Mercenaries are scumbags. Mercenaries are filthy, disgusting human beings, scumbags. Whether they're Christian, whether they're American, whether they're Saudi Arabian, or freaking Israeli or goddamn Iranian. Mercenaries are scumbags. Little paid death squads. And yeah, do you have to be worried about them? Sure. Sure. What are you going to do? Just come kill me? Come kill me? You're going to beat me up? I want to see people really just look at things for what they really are. You don't even have to accuse. Don't try to, sell me a line of bull crap and tell me that I'm the one that doesn't understand. Tuesday, for the first time, released intelligence directly tying a powerful Syrian rebel group to commanders of the Al-Qaeda in Iraq. U.S. officially formally sanctioned the Syrian military, freezing any assets it may have had in the U.S., barring Americans from doing business with it. Good Lord. So we're decide who's the good terrorist and who's the bad terrorist. That's what this boils down to. All right. The Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, LIGF, we funded them. They've officially merged with Al Qaeda. MEK, which is another Al Qaeda group that's in Syria now. We've officially funded and support them. Al Qaeda's foreign fighters in Iraq. Let's see, 2011, NATO armed, funded, and provided air support for the LIFG, which was the Libyans. They happen to be the same group that was, yes, Al Qaeda in Iraq. And now they're in Syria. Elements of the same group, the LIGFG, that we funded, that we helped, that we supported, were behind the attack of the consulate that killed Chris Stevens. They're sending weapons and fighters through other NATO countries like Turkey into Syria. They're getting money from Saudi Arabia, from Israel, from United States. Ambassador Christopher Stevens was the liaison between the CIA, the United States, and these terrorist mercenary groups. And that's why he had to go. And that's why he's dead right now. Because the people that he was the liaison for are people who actually work for our government. Al Qaeda works for the CIA. They are the CIA's stooges. They're paid mercenaries, Islamic mercenaries. Just the same as Blackwater are paid American mercenaries. And they go in, they do the same goddamn thing. Pardon my language, but that's it right there in a nutshell. Let's see here, November 11th. Leading Libyan Islamists met Free Syrian Army opposition group, mentioned by name, the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, which was, yes, you said it, Al Qaeda in Iraq. So Al Qaeda in Iraq, we funded them in Libya. They've moved into Syria, and we're funding them again there now. But only the ones that share our values. Well, what's that say about our frickin' values? When I say our, I don't mean you and I mean our is the official scumbag values of our government, our corrupt corporate government. Let's see if I can make this plain enough to you. Our government, is supporting terrorism and spending billions of dollars a year fighting terrorism. Come on, man. We need that money. Our people need that money. I need 2 HD TVs. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, man. Let's just look at things for what they really are. Let's just, stop trying to justify everything. Stop trying to justify the scumbags on the Syrian side. Stop trying to justify the scumbags on the Islamic side, the scumbags in Israel, the scumbags in England. Stop trying to justify everything. Just look at it for what it is and think about the people. All right? Because, houses here aren't getting blown up yet. We're not getting drone bombed on wedding parties and, where they'll kill 11 men, women, and children, or 11 women and children to get one suspected insurgent. You're going to be an insurgent if you're not careful here, too. So just because that's not happening to you here doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And people just they just always justify everything without looking at the actual cause or the actual effect. They don't look at the cause. They don't care about the cause. The effect doesn't matter to them. Let me pick something else, I guess. 10 reasons why fracking is doomed. Nope. Skip by that one. Top 10 costs the BP oil spill that won't be covered by their $4.5 billion fine. How about this? BP always claimed right from the start they shared all their information with the public and the federal government about the extent of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, the manufactured terrorist act, I happen to believe, my opinion. They say they were always, they've always, the rate of flow leaking from the oil or the BP, we've always been straight and forthcoming with this information. But now we're getting emails that show otherwise, that show that they knew. I mean, at first they were saying, oh, we've crunched the numbers and it looks like we're leaking about 1,000 barrels of oil a day. It's going to be easily to contain. Don't worry, there's nothing going on here. But now we're going to find out. Now we're finding out that within a day or two of the explosion that they knew that they were leaking between 60,000 and 146,000 barrels of oil a day. Because the BP executives told the Coast Guard their best estimates held the leak at about 1,000 barrels a day. So, and then later on they revised that to about 5,000 barrels a day. Still not even close to the 60 to 140,000 barrels a day that it did leak and probably still is leaking. And so they're getting, they made, let me just think here. They made $40 billion last month. Every month they profit about $40 billion a month. That's BP. They're going to pay a $4.5 billion fine. $40 billion a month, $4.5 billion fine. Lie from day one, $4.5 billion fine. Now, well, they're giving out $4.5 billion, so, get in on it. That's going to be great. You can, you might get a FEMA trailer. You might be eligible for food stamps. That money goes straight to the government. And they'll decide how to use it, how to disperse it, if to disperse it, whether to disperse it or not. Guaranteed for every penny that's dispersed to people who need it, 99 pennies is going to be dispersed to people who've never done a goddamn thing in their frickin' life to help an individual, to do anything productive for anyone, anywhere. What about manslaughter? What about obstruction of justice? What about the criminal charges? If you tell a cop your name is John and it's Jim, there's a criminal charge there. They'll put you in jail for it. How many people died when the rig exploded? 11? Was it 11 people that died? 14 maybe? People died. What about the murder and manslaughter charges? How is it that if I sell you a car, right, and I know that car, has a gas leak under the hood right by the spark plug, that I know that it's just a matter of time before that car sets itself on fire, and I sell it to you, and it catches on fire and kills you and your family? How am I not liable? Of course, you have to prove that I knew this. But what I'm saying is the evidence is there that they knew that the caps that they were using were faulty. Their emails saying, hey, I can't believe you're still using the same hardware. You're bound to have a blowout. It can't not happen. They knew. Of course, it paid, the $20 billion. So $24.5 billion. It started making payments. But look at it this way. The price of petroleum on the rise. BP can pay that. They paid their $20 billion. They pay this $4.5 billion. They're allowed to pay it over 5 years, less than $1 billion a year, and they make $40 billion a year in profit. Not $40 million a month, $40 billion a year. After the fine was issued, BP stock actually rose slightly on the news that it was only a $4.5 billion. Oh, my God. Dear Lord. Sometimes I can't even believe the stuff I talk about. Sometimes it seems that I am making it up. You know what I mean? Hell, I can tell you right now, the pipeline companies' leak detection systems can only detect maybe 1 out of 12 or 1 out of 20, 1 out of 19, 20, 25 spills. Now, what about some of the things that a $4.5 billion fine can't pay, can't fix? Fish with lesions and oozing sores. Dr. Jim Cohen says this. Fishermen have never seen anything like this. And in my 20 years working on red snapper, looking at somewhere between 20 and 30,000 fish, I've never seen anything like this either. Lesions, oozing sores, eyeless shrimp. $4.5 billion. What are you? I mean, is that going to pay for mutated shrimp? Bluefin tuna. Very well could go from endangered to extinct. Probably won't, but could. All the dead coral. All the dead coral. Tar balls. What about the tar balls? $4.5 billion. Of course, there is, evidence that there have always been tar balls in the Gulf of Mexico. That really it's just pressure, atmospheric pressure that keeps the oil in the Gulf where it is. That if it wasn't full of water, it would erupt with tar and oil. At least that's what I've heard. But this is different. These are balls of tar that are washing up on shore. They're full of these bacteria they call vulnificus. Vulnificus. It's a bacteria that cause or could cause cholera. They're still finding them on beaches on the Gulf. How about the oyster catchers? What about your oysters? Another industry hammered hard. And the oysters you do find, yes, they're infected with the same bacteria. Dolphins washing up on the shore. Petroleum pollution in the pelican eggs. Years after. Nitrogen, the nitrogen cycle of key microorganisms in the Gulf water on which all crabs and crustaceans feed. Where does that fit into $4.5 billion? Where's that frickin' fine going to go? Who gets that $4.5 billion? Right, not you. What about all the Gulf Islands? They're slowly dying. The wildlife, the fauna, the flora, dying. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Yeah, $4.5 billion. But hey, we hammered them hard. Hooray for Barack. For Bronco. Bama. Hooray for Barack Obama. He's on our side. All right. I'll move on. I'll move on. I can't. Yeah, 100 million tons of core exit or more. Benzene. All kinds of VOCs, volatile organic compounds, in the air, hovering above the water, especially if in parts of the Gulf that get brackish, pools of Gulf water that become stagnant. You're going to find increased levels of VOC, benzene, toxic stuff. Let's see. Oh, hey, there's a new petition from the people that brought you the secession movement. Here's this new petition to build a Death Star. It's already got 17,000 signatures on the White House .petition.gov.White House frickin' website. That's why I didn't get excited about petitions to secede. Oakland's police department, guess what? You people in Oakland, the federal government's about to take control of your police. You're corrupt. Some people say, hey, great. They're corrupt and they didn't comply. Some people are like me that say, what good is federal government going to do? The people of Oakland. I mean, somehow, some way, we need to start looking for middle ground. You get the Pacific Northwest. Yes, I'll mention that. Fukushima is on its way to the Pacific Northwest as we speak. It's been rolling in there. You've been getting Fukushima'd for a whole year now. The Fukushima floating debris pile is on the coast of North America now. They don't talk about it a lot, but they've been all along. A few months ago, in Alaska, they had to sink some boats. That debris pile is here. It's been dispersed. The tuna run is on its way. Another month or two. We're going to see if this new tuna run is completely radiated. Last year, they tested 20 tuna. 20 of them had elevated levels of cadmium. Tomorrow, I'm going to bring Christina, the rad chick, on. We'll do a quick update. We'll see what's happened the last week. She's agreed to come on every week. We'll ask her because she keeps her eyes peeled. Right after Fukushima, the United States started shutting down all its radiation sensors. Why? CDC announced like a 30% increase in cancer within months of Fukushima. You hear that on the mainstream? No. Why, if that was the case, would they be shutting down? Would they be closing monitoring sites? I mean, you tell me, man. Am I the lunatic? Am I the frickin' lunatic here? Jeepers. All right, don't forget. If you'd like to help keep the show up and running, go to Against the Wall and donate to the radio show. Greatly appreciated. Hey, I want to thank everybody who joined me today. Great show. See you tomorrow. It's been the Jim Freeland Show. I'm your host, Jim Freeland.
We're good people. We're God-fearing people. We're being led by leaders who are godly, who are lawless. All right? Don't let them bully you and think that you're lawless and you don't have to care. They can call it whatever they want, but they can't make us hate. Yeah.
I'd rather die than be a slave to thee. Don't treat me this way. I'd rather die than be your slave. I will survive. to pass away. But life presents such possibilities each and every day. I heard a calling that was right for me. I prayed for strength for what's ahead of me. Show me the way. Please show me the way. The sun rose high and burnt the night away. Who stood before me was my enemy. Don't tread on me. Come to take away my liberties. I'd rather die than be a slave to thee. Don't treat me this way. I'd rather die than be your slave. I will survive. And you feel my rage. It's not a question of being brave. I'd rather die than be your slave. Didn't matter who shot first that day. They killed my brothers, they lay dead by me. We hit them hard, we made them pay that day. We hung the traitors from the highest trees. Mercy from lost a lot, our pain was heavy. We sacrificed for God and country. No more colony. Still held the ground that was in front of me. This was the price to pay for liberty. Still you hear me